Okay, Hallie, are you in?
Yes.
Okay.
Share my screen here.
Sarah, do you want?
Yep. This is the regular meeting of the Pickens County Hearing Officer for Tuesday, October 1st, 2025. We had a site visit at 1 o'clock today, and this is the meeting itself, which is beginning at 3 o'clock. We have one item on the agenda, which is 124 Twining Flats LLC activity envelope and site plan and special review for a TDR receiver site and special review for a caretaker dwelling unit. Hallie Miller is here to, on behalf of the county, and she'll do a presentation first. Then I'll have Philip Ring on behalf of the applicant do a presentation for the applicant. I'll take public comments. What?
Oh, no, no formal presentation from applicants.
We'll take any public comments from the public and then move forward with the decision. So great. Okay. Everyone can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you, Sarah. This is just kind of a brief overview of what you just said. But we're gonna start with a general overview of the property and the review types, then look at the background history of the site and development proposals, and then reviewed code compliance. And then I'll pass it over to Philip. Okay. So the subject property is located on Twining Flats Road. The Roaring Fork River runs along the northeast edge of the property. And sits across Highway 82 from Cozy Point Ranch. So just to kind of orient yourself here. Okay. So the subject property is zoned agricultural residential 10 acre or AR 10 and is 2.604 acres in size. So that's non-conforming for the zone district due to the size of the property. So the review types that we'll be going over are activity envelope and site plan review for residential accessory structure that contains garage, stables, a caretaker dwelling unit or CDU, a home gym, and other ancillary uses on a developed property. We also are going over special review and growth management quota system exemption or GMQS exemption for a detached CDU. And we have a GMQS exemption and special review for a transferable development right or TDR receiver site for floor area in excess of the base maximum residential floor area on the subject property, which is 5750 within the rural area. And so the reason that we are here at the hearing officer as a review body is for the TDR certificate for additional floor area on a lot or parcel in the rural area, according to table 2-1. The subject property is also not located in one of the rural area subdivisions listed in section 63052A, where it would a TDR could be used as a GMQS exemption. And also due to the property being less than 5 acres, the barn is not exempt from floor area as an agricultural use and therefore needs a TDR. Okay, so now we're going to get into the background and property history, unless anyone has any questions or comments. Great. Okay, moving right along. So there's more previous approvals, but these are the latest and most applicable to this. In 2018, there was an administrative review that approved an existing activity envelope and site plan review. The detached accessory structure was approved, but the purpose of the building was not determined. So a similar structure was approved as part of the 2018 administrative review. And it had a similar use, although it was not categorized as a CDU. The vested rights have expired and the activity envelope and site plan will lapse in 2028. And a certificate of occupancy was issued for the single family residence, so that is existing on site, which we saw earlier. And then most recently in 2024, there was a code enforcement violation for some work and unpermitted structure in the 100-foot setback. And that case has since been resolved. There's nothing in the 100-foot setback today. Okay. So we're gonna get into code compliance. So I figured we just take a look at the draft activity envelope. First. So there aren't very many, there are site constraints on site. But the activity envelope avoids almost all of them, except for scenic views, which we'll get into. The proposed activity envelope is slightly different than the previously approved activity envelope, but only slightly, and you can see the difference between the red line and this black dash line here. So it's very slight. And the activity envelope includes all of the site work, including all of the utility updates needed for the CDU and horse barn. And then also just wanted to point out, as we did see on site, but there will also be a little bit of landscape improvement and a slightly updated driveway. Okay. So these are all the Chapter 7 development standards that we looked at. I'm not going to go into all of them. The highlighted ones are the ones that I'm going to talk about. The steep slopes was mostly just to show that this is the activity or all the work is outside of that 30% or greater slope. So the 30% or greater slopes in this are the dark red and the yellow. And the light red, I'll call it, is below 15%. So they're primarily staying within that area and avoiding these 30% slopes. Okay, and now we get into scenic. So the first thing we looked at is that the property is within the Down Valley Comprehensive Plan viewshed. But it isn't visible from the prioritized area, which would be at the edge of this cone. So great. And then, sorry, lost my place. Okay, the property is located within the scenic view protection area from Highway 82. It also is slightly visible from Upper River Road. The proposed accessory structure is only visible from the the down valley side of the highway, but looking up valley. So, and this is that view right here. And you can see that, I know it's very small, but that the applicant provided. And so this here is the existing home. We've got the proposed barn, and you can see that you can basically just see the roof with a little bit of siding of the proposed barn accessory structure. The existing single-family residence is also represented to not silhouette against the sky. And the accessory structure is proposed to be lower than that. We also recognize that you can see a bit of this development. You'll probably be able to see a bit of this development from Upper River Road. And staff determined that it's from a very small segment of the road and it will also not silhouette against the sky. Okay. So this is the original proposed palette for the existing single-family home. So we have the cool slate color, which is present today. Stone and charcoal for the roof, and then this wood colored barn siding. And we wanted to put this in front of you just to say that we recognize that the proposed accessory structure could be painted to match the house, and also might better comply with code if we use the original barn colored wood siding. So just wanted to put in front of you that palette. And just wanted to also just highlight a couple of amendments to the determination that we'll be adding, and I can show you this in the determination if you prefer. On the screen.
This is fine.
This is fine, okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, this slide, just stating that the siding is actually slightly visible from the down valley side of the highway looking up valley on the accessory structure. And then that there is an opportunity to either paint the siding to be more of an earth tone color, or use vegetative screening to mitigate the views to the proposed structure.
On the mitigation, the vegetative screening, I mean, how open do we want to leave that? Is that something that staff feels comfortable? Well, and I mean, we can talk about this later, but just something to think about. Staff feels comfortable addressing it, building permit, or is it something we want to solidify a bit more? So it's just sort of.
Yeah, I think I'd love to hear what Philip
Okay.
thinks is reasonable.
Okay.
From his perspective, and maybe go from there.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
We'll let
Yeah.
staff wrap up and then.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just adding in the Upper River Road section. So the existing development right is for 5750. The current residence is 5168, so it's below the 5750, but a TDR is required in order to get to the total square footage that is required for the CDU and an accessory structure. And this is just to say that the TDR can be used in the AR10. The request for TDR is consistent with the Woody Creek master plan. And the use of the TDR in the subject property to increase the residential floor area is compatible with the character of Woody Creek and is harmonious with the surrounding land uses. Okay. And so this is just the breakdown of the TDR. The existing floor area is 5168. The new floor area would be it would be 1916 for just the floor area, not including the CDU. The CDU is compliant under 1,000 square feet at 995. And then there are there is 163 square feet of excess overhangs in excess of 8 feet. And so the total is going to be 8242, which you would be able to come up with one TDR. And the CDU, the represented floor area is code compliant. It's under 1,000 square feet, and it meets the special review criteria. And CDUs, as we said, are also permitted in the Woody Creek master plan. And a minimum of 2 parking spaces are provided for the CDU. We received referral comments from Environmental Health and Woody Creek Caucus, lending support to the project. Picken County Engineer and Aspen Fire District also added support with standard requirements to include in the resolution. And Picken County zoning added to ensure that the height is compliant with this accessory structure, not an agricultural structure. However, I believe that it is, but just a note from them on that. Okay. And then public comment, which I will include in the updated determination. A public comment pointed out that the scale of development felt oversized. Woody Creek doesn't limit the use of TDRs and also is in support of the project. So that's a response to that. They also pointed out that there was maybe some issues with horses and specifically around poop. So we don't have a specific way to regulate that. I think that would be potentially part of the well permit. There was some concern over the access easement and traffic, increased traffic. And our response is that construction management plans are needed for building permit as well as an access permit. So hopefully that would clear that up. There was also concerns that potentially the CDU would be used as a second home. The CDU is an allowed use for the zone district and for the master plan area. The being in excess of 5750 will require the owners to have to pay employee impact housing fees. And if there are implications of out-of-town ownership, the out-of-town ownerships pay higher employee impact housing fees. And then the last comment was about the 100-foot setback development, which I believe we cleared up with the code enforcement case, and that is now closed. And so staff recommends that the hearing officer approve the activity envelope and site plan review and GMQS exemption and special review for transferable development rate receiver site and special review and growth management quota system exemption for a caretaker dwelling unit with the previous noted amendments. Okay, great. And that's me.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have a formal presentation. Alex did a great job of covering everything really relevant to the application. As noted, there really aren't, there are site constraints, but we stay completely out of them. The caucus is in support of the application, and the view shed concerns are understood and appreciated. I was going to show the landscape plan that was submitted with the application. I was incorrect in the answering your question on site. There is buffering provided on the property line that would be Well, here, let me go ahead and share it. So we can look at it. So here along this property line,
Yeah,
kind of the
okay.
southeast property line,
Mhm.
there is a provision for quite a bit of screening, maples and spruce, combination of both, so it'll be perennial, year-round screening. So that should alleviate concerns as viewed from Upper River Road. The, the view from the down valley lanes of Highway 82, as we noted on site, are pretty obscure angle, not a natural viewpoint. And in order to screen from that side, we don't really have an opportunity on site. Though we're open to suggestions. The owner has expressed their interest in matching the barn to the house, so that very light gray, almost white color is what is desired. However, we don't feel it's out of character in the community. As we saw on site, there are numerous structures on adjacent parcels that are white as well, or very light. So we don't think this will stand out as being a visual distraction for eyesore. I believe that's all I need. I really have to say, staff's done a great job with this review. Appreciate their time and interest on the public's behalf. And clearly, we did get one public comment. There were a few things that were raised, but I don't think any of them were really relevant to the review. And not for, not, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, and I don't think we have, well, that's for you, public, whether there's any
Yep.
public comment.
Yep.
I'll stop sharing.
So I'll open the public hearing. I don't think we
We have
have
no one in
public
line.
comment. Okay, and I just want to note that we did receive the letter from Tony Rutgers. I think staff adequately addressed his concerns. And I think given that there's caucus support and that the code permits TDRs in this zone district, and that there's no limits in the caucus itself, I don't, I think the concerns were adequately addressed, so, and I will note that I used to ride horses, and the first place that I rode horses was in Woody Creek, so. So, it's part of the history out there, so I don't know what else to say, so, anyway. Yeah, so I'll close the public hearing. On the. I don't have a objection to the color, given the fact that it's basically sort of silhouettes against the existing house. And I think it would be difficult after being out there and looking at the site plan to screen, given that we have the type of vegetation that is there and is native to there, and then the driveway butts right up to the development. So I don't know if staff has any other suggestions in terms of screening or not, but that's sort of my concern with a screening requirement is where would it go? So.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased to see all the screening from
Yeah.
the Upper River Road angle.
Okay.
And then I think the other thing that we can make a finding about as an amendment is just the fact that all the shrub oak on the hillside between 82 and
Very,
that CDU
very
structure.
Be retained.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, some of those were like 20 feet tall, so.
Yeah.
I think that we'll just make a finding, obviously it'll be in the conditions that the vegetation outside the activity envelope will be maintained, except for like
Yeah.
wildfire mitigation and that sort of thing.
Perfect.
So I think we can just clarify those points.
Yeah.
And that will check the box for our code compliance review, right, Kelly?
I agree.
Okay, perfect.
I know you said one thing we mentioned was adding the 100-foot river setback to the site plan activity on it before it gets finalized.
Okay, great. So, I am going to approve the hearing officer decision, and we don't have a number yet. But the 2025 decision, which will add a number to, with the amendments discussed with respect to the screening, and findings on that, and also the requirement that the 100-foot setback be added onto the activity envelope and site plan. All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice job. That was good. That was good. Nice and concise, well laid out, not confusing.
Great, that's.
Didn't make it more complicated than it needed to be.